All right, today's topic is pie graphs, and our goal for today's lesson is to be able to accurately interpret and draw pie graphs, and we will be using Excel today to do that. So firstly, what do you know about pie graphs? So what we've been shown there is a pie graph, and some of the things, so maybe have a think before I show you the next bit on this slide, what you so far know about pie graphs. All right, so a pie chart is a circular chart divided into sectors. So each of these is what we call a sector. And the total value of the pie is always 100%. So this might be 30%, this might be 20%, this might be 10%, but all up, all of these should add up to 100% for the whole thing. It's visually simpler than other types of graphs, so you can visually sort of see the differences and know that, okay, there's the most is the number of adults because that's the biggest sector, and the smallest one is the baby. So visually you're able to interpret things a lot easier in a pie graph. But in terms of one of the drawbacks, you cannot compare more than a few pieces of data. So if I had 100 different pieces of data on here, or let's say 20 even, it's going to be very hard to visually sort of work out what's what. So it works really ideally for a small number of pieces of data that you're looking at and trying to interpret. In order to draw a pie graph, these are the steps you will need to follow. So you open a new spreadsheet on Excel, and in the first column you enter the names of the items you wish to graph. And then in the second column, which is next to it, you enter the corresponding number for each item. And then you click on Insert and then Graph. And then you select the pie graph. The graph should then appear, and make sure you give your graph a title. So once you try it a few times, you'll get used to it and it'll be a lot easier, but these are the steps you need to follow. So make sure you're referring to this slide when you are trying to use Excel to draw your first pie graph. So this is an example where you'll now be able to use Excel to draw a pie graph. So we've been given some information. Belinda picked some vegetables from her garden and recorded the number of each type of vegetable in a table. So this was a table that was given to us. So what we meant by entering names in the first column and then the numbers in the second column. So in this case, when you open your Excel file, these go into your first column and the corresponding numbers go into your second column. So when she went and picked some vegetables, she picked 20 tomatoes, 12 carrots, 8 cucumbers, and 10 lettuce. So basically, at this point, I expect everyone to pause the video and go into Excel and try to draw your pie graph following those steps that were given to you. Once you've done it, I'm just about to show you what your pie graph is going to look like. So Belinda's Vegetable Garden, that's our title. And that is basically the pie chart. So we can see 20 is for tomatoes, that's our maximum. So the blue is tomatoes, and that is definitely the biggest sector. And then the next one is carrots, 12, and that is our second biggest one. Sorry, this one here, that's our second biggest sector. And then after that we've got the lettuce, which is in yellow, and that's this one here. So we can see that's a third. And then the last one, the smallest number recorded, was 8 for cucumbers, and we can see here that's the smallest sector. So in your Excel spreadsheet, when you put that information, you should expect to see a pie chart similar to this. The other thing you need to be able to do is interpreting pie graphs. So the pie chart here shows the different types of traffic fines handed out by a police officer over a month. So there's a few different offences. Now we're going to look through these different options to determine which of the following statements are true or false. The most common fine is for drink driving. So this is drink driving. The most common, so that should be the maximum, but here we can see speeding is the most common, so therefore that is false. Fines for not wearing a seatbelt account for about 1/4 of all fines. So not wearing a seatbelt, is it roughly 1/4 of this circle? Yeah, it is. So that is true, because if I was to divide the circle like such, then this would be 1/4 of the circle. So that is true. More than half of the fines were either for speeding or drink driving. More than half the fines were for speeding or drink driving. Yes. So it's these two things here, and they were just over a half. If you can see, this line is not exactly straight. So I would say true for that as well. And then there were more traffic light offense fines than expired license. So traffic light should be more than expired license. Nope, that's not true. So this one is a smaller sector compared to this one here. So I would say false. All right, so this is us just interpreting information based on the pie graph given to us. So for your coursework, you need to, firstly, before you get onto your coursework, you need to make sure you do the Excel spreadsheet to create a pie graph, and please send that to me either via MS Teams or to my email, and then you can move on to exercise lesson 7 pie graphs. All right, and make sure you re-rate your effort and knowledge. Thank you.